We always want to see that you have good health here on the Marshall Health Source podcast, but what if you can't see? We're talking to an ophthalmologist as the Health Source podcast starts right now.
You are listening to the Health Source podcast, presented by the Marshall Health Network. Now here's your host, Rick Lord.
Welcome live inside the Marshall Health Source podcast studios on the campus of Marshall University. This is the Health Source podcast brought to you by the Marshall Health Source Network. I am Rick Lord. With us today is an ophthalmologist to talk a little bit about eyesight. People say, and by the way, Vishal Verma, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to give you a chance to kind of explain your background, what got you into this in ophthalmology, and what led you to the Marshall Health Network.
So I originally went to medical school thinking I was going to be a pediatrician. My mom's a pediatrician, and when I went there, I actually got a little exposure to ophthalmology, got to work through the microscope, and I loved the meticulous nature of the work.
Really?
And I absolutely loved helping people the way ophthalmologists do. We make a big impact in people, and quality of life is just amazing to see from one day to the other. After we do a surgery on someone, how they can't see coming in and they can see coming out, so it's pretty
That's
rewarding.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and you were an outlier as a kid. You liked digging into the work.
Yeah, I actually loved it. I was trained from an early age to work hard, and when we got started with ophthalmology, I really just dove into it, loved it.
That's great. Now, a lot of people, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but it seems like they take their vision for granted. Is that something that you agree with?
I would say people don't always pay attention to it. It's kind of, something that you just expect to work.
Right. And so when it doesn't, it's good to have people like you around. What kind of feedback do you get from people that come in that, I'm sure you've heard all kinds of different stories, but people that maybe didn't even expect what happened to them to happen? I mean, when you lose your vision, you learn quickly how important it really was, right?
So not only with patients, but friends and family, you hear about their troubles with vision and encountering something that has caused them a problem with their vision and then seeking ophthalmologist care. It's something they didn't expect, and so we have to be very careful to explain all the details of what we can do to help them. And people are a little freaked out when it comes to their eyes and working on their eyes. So we have to kind of assure people that it's actually a comfortable process to take care of. We make sure that their comfort, their experience is kept at the forefront. And so a lot of times when people come in to, for example, get a cataract evaluation, can't see, they've lost their vision, difficulty driving at night, and then we talk about the process for cataract surgery, and they get very worried. And so we tell them about it, they go through the process, and on the other end, I constantly hear how easy that was.
And what seems to be challenging when I think about losing your vision and your eyes as part of your health routine is, like people know if they're eating unhealthy, they're gonna gain weight. If they're not exercising and they're being sedentary, they can have joint problems. With your eyesight, it almost seems like if it's not degenerative, they don't know what's going to lead to that, so it's harder to prevent in a way.
And there are some diseases that are something you can foresee. Diabetics tend to have more problems with their eyes, and good control will prevent them from having problems related to diabetes. But you're correct. There's a lot of diseases that are very insidious, like glaucoma. Unless you get checked for it, you may never know you have it. And so it is important for people to know that screening for their vision, their eyesight, their eye health is a vital part of their health care.
And routine exams are so important. How often
Absolutely.
do you recommend? And is there a difference by age when you recommend them to get their eyes checked?
So for adults, we usually say, after the age of 50, once a year, unless you have something else that would make you need to get checked sooner, like diabetes. If you have an underlying family history that's strong for glaucoma, you want to be checked more often at a younger age. And for kids, there's screening done in schools, and they're screening at a very young age through pediatrician offices. But if there's any issues that a parent suspects with their child, they should get in with an ophthalmologist to take a look, or an optometrist to get screening to make sure that they know kind of if there's something off track from what their kid's seeing.
And a lot of people hear those words and are like, oh, I can't pronounce either one, optometrist, ophthalmologist, but they're two very different things.
Yeah.
Doctor, ophthalmologist, or an optometrist who's just someone that's kind of looking at your vision in terms of...
Well, they're doctors of optometry as well. Right? They go through a different training program, but we have great optometrists and ophthalmologists in this area that I work really closely with. And so what's really good about the community we have here is...
You're taking the high road, I see.
Well, I really do have a lot of respect for our ophthalmologists and optometrists in the community. And they have my cell phone number. We call if there's anything they're concerned about. They don't necessarily have an idea of what's going on with this patient. They call me, and we work together to get.
And that's why it's called the Marshall Health Network.
That's right.
Connectivity.
Very
you work
well
together
with them,
as a team. And there is a big difference, though, between someone that's maybe just getting older and their eyesight's getting a little bit bad and might need some prescription lenses, or someone that might have more serious disease or glaucoma or something like that.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about maybe some of the warning signs for things that you would feel are much more important and dangerous.
Yeah, and I think that before I go into any specific signs, I think just anything that feels like it's out of the ordinary to you, if you feel like your vision is not what it was, get checked. It's always worth it to, don't think, oh, I have a floater, it'll go away, it'll get better. Those are kinds of things. Just get checked if you're not sure. But as far as specific symptoms, with glaucoma, it's your peripheral vision that goes first. So a lot of times it's hard to pick up on, but checking your vision one eye at a time, covering one eye, covering the other, and assessing your vision, important thing, because you might realize you cover one eye and you're not seeing well out of one, and you didn't realize it. If you're a diabetic, getting screened is important, but anything in peripheral vision loss, flashing lights, floaters, things of that nature, difficulty driving at night, they can be signs of different sort of eye diseases, and it's always worthwhile to get checked. But the overarching principle is, if you feel like it's not normal, better to call. We'd rather tell, 10 patients, you're fine, and catch the one that had a problem.
Absolutely. And you mentioned floaters, and a lot of people might, it's a bit of an ambiguous term, because sometimes if you're just like laying down, you might see like a little squiggly going through, under your eyelid. But what specifically you're talking about, what are you looking out for?
Yeah, so if you start to see something in your vision that's moving around when you move your eye, and it's consistently there, it's not something that was a one-time occurrence and then went away, that's something that needs to be checked. Sometimes people describe it as they see it looks like a bug that's out there, and it's consistently in the same area and moving around, and it's not something that goes away,
right,
a minute later. That's something that needs to be checked out.
And that's the important part, is the consistency, and that it's the same thing every time, because what could that lead to? What is that showing you that's there?
So floaters can be a sign of the vitreous gel pulling away from the retina, which in and of itself is not harmful, but can cause a tear on the retina and a detachment. And that's a surgical emergency. So these are the kinds of things we want to pick up on before they become a bigger problem for people.
And talk a little bit about glaucoma, because I know people have heard the word. They might not be fully aware of what it is and what to look out for.
Glaucoma is one of the trickiest diseases we have to explain. It's damage to the optic nerve. The eye connects to the brain via the optic nerve. So it's damage to that wire, essentially. And once you get the damage, you can't get it back. And so what happens is they have high pressure in their eyes. Typically, it's related to high pressure that causes damage over time. So patients who have a family history of glaucoma, they should get checked. But really, it's something that your ophthalmologist can see or your optometrist can see before you can necessarily see the changes. So that's why screening is so important, getting your eyes checked, because you may not see the signs of the peripheral vision loss until it's too late.
Yeah, and you say that something like that, once it's done, it's done. Are there any vision problems or vision diseases or anything that is reversible?
Yeah, and one of the biggest ones that I take care of on a regular basis is a cataract, leading cause of reversible blindness in the world. So cataracts nowadays have it's evolved. The evolution of care for cataracts has changed tremendously, even in the 15 years that I've been doing this. Initially we could take cataracts out and we couldn't put a new lens in. Now we have a wide variety of lenses that not only restore vision, but also can allow for freedom from glasses. So that's kind of the area that I specialize in, is refractive cataract surgery, focusing on the different types of lenses, matching them up to the right patient, making sure expectations are realistic for what you can achieve. And then, a lot of times granting people a lot of freedom from glasses, which is really rewarding. They come in, they need their glasses all the time. They can't see for the cataract, and we fix it. Now they don't need glasses.
And it is amazing how far it's advanced and how quickly it has. And people that are listening or watching that might be kind of reticent and be like, I don't, my mother just had her cataracts taken care of earlier this week. She was in and out in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's a great procedure.
Yeah, and you keep your eye covered for a while, and then you're good to go. She'll do the other eye in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, just for people that are out there worried about it, it's gotten to the point now where it's almost like nothing. It's like getting your teeth cleaned. You get in and you get out, right?
Yeah, I mean, we pride ourselves on making sure people have a really good experience, and they do get in and out of cataract surgery pretty quickly. The process itself, surgery itself can take as little as 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the patients who are going through this process get done and say, I can't believe it's already over. And then the healing process is actually pretty straightforward for patients too. So we really try to make sure it's a good experience. Patients don't hurt. Patients are, anxious coming in and then relaxed after they get it done, saying that was really easy. So yeah, we try to make it a good process.
Are there any other big things that people kind of just don't think about that can lead to blindness? We talked about glaucoma, but are there any other things out there that maybe are flying under the radar, so to speak, that can lead to blindness?
I think diabetes is like the big one to talk about because there are a lot of people underdiagnosed with diabetes. You know, in fact, some
Especially
patients
in this region.
Yeah, and people come to me never having seen a doctor before, and then they come, they're having vision problems, and we diagnose diabetic retinopathy and refer them into a primary care physician because they didn't even know they had diabetes. Diabetic retinopathy affects millions of people. I think the last statistic, I don't recall the exact numbers of diabetics, but undiagnosed diabetics is in the tens of millions. You know, and so you've got tons of people out there that don't even know they have diabetes that come in and potentially have retinopathy from it. So that's a big one for us to stay on top of, manage, work with primary care doctors to kind of get their eye exams done on a yearly basis.
And another thing that's challenging, I'm sure, from your end of it is individuals have their own genetic makeup as well. So genetics plays a role, and something like with diabetes, lifestyle can play a role too. So you have to merge all those together and figure out what the map is for each specific person.
Absolutely, and that's where primary care physicians come in and play. And that game has changed a lot with GLP-1 medications now. You know, got Ozempic, all those medications out there that changed the face of treatment for diabetes. So it's evolving too, just like cataract surgery. So
are there any emerging technologies that you've read about or that you see coming down the pike that you're excited about?
Yeah, so there are different lenses that are being released. When we talk back to cataract surgery, there are a lot of lenses being released worldwide that aren't always available in the United States first. We're fortunate to have some really good ones in the United States, and there's some that are coming available that could potentially provide freedom from glasses in a different way than what we have available. So we're anxious to see what comes down the pipeline from the lens standpoint.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Yeah, and where do you see this headed? Like in 5-10 years? I mean, you don't want to put yourself out of business, right? But I mean,
yeah. Well, I'm hopeful that the drop that erases cataracts doesn't exist. Otherwise, I'm out of a job. But they are working on eye drops to kind of fix cataracts, but it's not really made a whole lot of progress. So the lenses, I think I'll have a job for a long time, hopefully coming. But glaucoma is another area that advancements have happened, and so people don't need as big a surgery anymore for glaucoma. So there's a lot of advancements that allow people to have good quality of life with very minimal invasive surgeries.
Let's dive into LASIK a little bit because I know a lot of people have heard that and are wondering if that's right for me. Talk a little bit about what would qualify someone for LASIK surgery and how far it's come in the last 10, 15 years.
LASIK has advanced a bunch as well. And so I've actually, speaking from experience on this, I've had LASIK. I've done my wife's LASIK, both of my brothers, my sister-in-law, a bunch of my friends. It's tremendous. The change in quality of life that you get experience from having freedom from glasses is amazing. And there's a lot of people out there who've never had to wear glasses. And for us who were dependent on glasses for so long, it's a different world. So when I started training, LASIK was done with a blade. And so we had bladed LASIK. There was a lot of dry eye that would occur after LASIK. And so, it was a great procedure, but it had more side effects than it does now. Now it's bladeless LASIK. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes in the office. So the process essentially works like this. Someone comes in the office to get evaluated for freedom from glasses. Typically want a patient from the age of 20 to about 45. There are reasons that we want that specific age range. And so patient comes in, gets an evaluation. We see if they're a good candidate. The way we figure that out is a lot of different tests we have, check their prescription. If you're a good candidate, we talk about the procedure, which takes, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes in the office. You spend about an hour with us total. They come in, we'll bring them to the laser room. They lay flat on their back. They look up, see a lot of lights, get a lot of drops, some funny sounds, some funny smells. Doesn't hurt. There's a little pressure, and then we tell you what to expect along the way. Afterwards, you go home, sleep for about 5 hours because it's a little irritated then, and they come back the next day, and they're seeing better even the evening of their surgery.
That day.
Yeah, that evening, seeing a lot better, watching TV. I was watching TV, seeing the small print that evening. We've had people go the next day and go back to work, and just experience that quality of life improvement in a day.
So you talked about, to see if you qualify, see if you're a good candidate. Yep. What are some of the things that you're looking for? Obviously, if you have like 20/30 vision, you're just kind of losing it a little bit. It's probably not something for you at that point, right? And you mentioned that age group too. Talk about why 20 to 45 is the wheelhouse, and specifically what a good candidate looks like.
Great, yeah. So we don't usually like to do too much younger than 20 because the eyes are still changing quite a bit.
Right.
And so once you get to 20, we want to make sure they're stable. So there's things we'll look at to make sure even at that age you can get it done. The reason we don't like to go beyond about 45 is because at that point in time, you're probably experiencing some lens changes. And so we can solve the problem of getting the light rays coming into your eyes, focused on your retina, which is what LASIK does. but yet you could still have some lens changes that are limiting your ability to get freedom from readers. And so, there's limitations on what we can accomplish at that age, and there's a different problem occurring. So we try to keep it in the range that we can solve the issue. 20 to 45 is a good range for that. And I missed, tell me the other part you were going to ask about.
And so we talk about the age range, but also like specifically what's
What are we
going
doing on
on
the
within
evaluation?
a person to
Yeah.
make them a good candidate. Like,
Yeah, okay.
Because
Right.
the example I gave is if your vision's just a little bit off, that's
Yeah.
probably not, you probably don't need LASIK.
Not necessarily, and if it's just a little bit blurry and you have a small prescription, some people still get a LASIK procedure for a small prescription because even 20/30 can cause them to have a lot of glare at night
Right,
because
so
they're
they're
a
like,
little
"Just fix it."
nearsighted. Yeah, they just want it fixed. So what we do is we bring a patient in, we evaluate their prescription. The bigger the prescription, the more cornea we have to reshape. So we
Okay.
measure the thickness of their cornea, and we do a math problem essentially. We look at the thickness that we have to remove for LASIK, and we look at the thickness we have to reshape for their specific given prescription, and we figure out what the residual number is. That has to be above a threshold, so that's one of the criteria. Another criteria is we look at the corneal shape. So if there's irregularities in the shape that are in a specific pattern, we don't want to weaken the cornea too much. So we look at what's called topography. You've probably seen the topographical maps of mountains. We look at the eye, so. Yeah.
Who knew that you needed geology, architecture,
That's right.
engineering?
That's why I love this.
Part of being an ophthalmologist.
Yeah.
So you do seem passionate about your work. I mean, what are some of the things that make you go home every night and be like, I'm really glad I'm doing this?
I mean, when you see the results from patients and how happy they are, it makes you want to give them the best possible outcome by staying up to date on everything that's going on. Like I said earlier, we do cataract surgery on patients or LASIK on patients, and they can see the next day. I mean, they're ecstatic, and I love getting to be that close to a patient that's that happy after we've done something for them. So it's really fun to see the transformation.
Yeah,
what
and I'm sure that they almost become part of your life, like your friends.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
keep up with them and be like, how's it going?
I mean, I see people we've done surgery on all the time, and they'll come up and say, "Yeah, it's still doing great." And I'll ask them, and it's really fun to see the people in the community that we've been able to impact in a positive way.
Now, we've hit on some of the big ones. I want to talk a little about macular degeneration.
Okay.
Because people hear that term and it kind of freaks them out a little bit. Just what is that, and what does it mean, and what are some of the things that can be done about it?
So macular degeneration, we just break down the word there. So the macula is the part of the eye that's essentially, it's on the retina. It's the central part of your retina. And the retina is like the film in a camera. So
Right.
the eye gets these light rays coming in, focused on the retina. And the retina is the film that takes that image and sends it to the brain. The macula is the central part of that retina. And it's responsible for, if we're looking at the words on a paper or something, it's responsible for looking at that fine print. The degeneration that occurs there is this deposition of material in the macula called drusen. And we look at it, we can see somebody having these depositions occur, and it's typically age-related. That's why it's called age-related macular degeneration. Typically, it's patients over the age of 70. You can see it in 50 to 70 as well, but typically over 70. We'll see this deposition that occurs, and it slowly causes a degeneration in their vision, in their central vision. So it's scary to people because they've seen their parents and grandparents have it. They don't want to have that process. Nowadays, we have some treatments for macular degeneration in the form of vitamins that are formulated specifically to slow the progression, and that's of the dry form. And that's the typical form we see. The wet form is when we start getting new blood vessel formation, and that needs treated by a retina specialist. So we have great retina specialists in the area that we refer to treat that. The biggest thing that patients can do to prevent macular degeneration from becoming worse for them is not smoking. There's been a huge very high risk factor for progression of macular degeneration. In fact, 5 times the risk of a person who doesn't smoke in progressing. So,
Is there anything that can be done dietarily? I think I made up that word. But when you're little, your mom's like, eat your carrots.
Yeah.
Bunny rabbits never go blind. But are there certain foods that can help you?
yeah, and it's been tied to green leafy vegetables, particularly spinach. High doses of that have been shown to be less likely to cause progression from macular degeneration. Realistically, it's hard to get the high level of dosage from spinach that you need on a regular basis.
Okay.
Because I don't know the exact number, but I think it's like 5 servings per week, and sometimes patients can find that challenging. So the vitamins are pretty much our mainstay. Antioxidant vegetables, fruits and vegetables are good for preventing macular degeneration from progressing, but there's still ongoing studies as to looking at all the dietary tie-ins.
It's amazing, right? If you eat healthy, you're healthier everywhere, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Crazy
Absolutely.
how that works. So we talked about like smoking and things to not do. We'll get you out of here on this. If there's one simple thing that you could tell people to do every day to improve their vision health, what would it be?
I would definitely say just get screened. Make sure you continue to get monitored. That's probably the most important thing for catching things that you don't necessarily have the ability to take care of yourself. But as far as healthy living, it's everything else you've already heard. Yeah. Stay active, eat right. Not too much red meat, not too much meat, leafy vegetables. Those sorts of things are good in a diet and exercise.
And we're going to circle back to what we said right at the top. If you know your body best, so if anything just doesn't seem right,
yeah,
that's when you get it checked out.
Absolutely.
Go to Dr. Vishal Verma because he'll take care of you.
Appreciate that.
We appreciate your time today, Doctor.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you for joining us for another episode of the Marshall Health Source Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you'll know when the next episode hits. Until next time, I'm Rick Lord. Take care.
That was the Health Source Podcast, presented by the Marshall Health Network.